Excellences, Madame, Messieurs les ministres, le protocole voudrait...
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to welcome you and humbly ask you to stand for the ACP anthem.
Excellences, Madame, Messieurs les ministres, honorables...
Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, ministers, the 109th session of the ACP Council of Ministers is about to commence. I have the honor to invite His Excellency Dr. Patrick Gomes, Secretary General of the ACP Group of States, to make his introductory statement. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chief of Protocol. Honorable Sekiro Twea, Minister of Industrialization, Trade and Small and Medium Enterprise Development of the Republic of Namibia, Madam Deputy Prime Minister of Samoa, Honorable Fiame Naomi Matafa, Ministers, Excellencies, Ambassadors, representatives of regional organizations, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome. Mr. President, it was my honor and privilege to welcome ministers and their delegations to ACP House for the 108th session of our Council just some 5 months ago in mid-December 2018. Today we have come together, ensemble, for the 109th session. It is most encouraging to observe a noticeable increase in the number of ministers and their delegations who have deemed attendance at this session of Council as a priority. In the Secretariat, we fully appreciate all the sacrifices that have been made by members to be here in Brussels with us. In particular, allow me to recognize those ministers who are attending Council for the first time and those delegations that have traveled so far from the Blue Pacific. We appreciate your presence with us, especially as you have endured a long and tiring journey. As with other colleague ministers and heads of delegations, it is expected that the time and your involvement will be well spent and richly rewarding as you deliberate and discuss the very serious matters on our agendas. Before us are matters of profound and far-reaching significance for the ACP Group of States. The demand for serious commitment to these matters is inevitable if we are to craft a future that will be meaningful and enriching for the livelihoods of the millions of ordinary people across the space of 3 continents occupied by our 79 member states. Mr. President, ministers, and heads of delegations, you may no doubt have noted that the Council's agenda addresses matters such as the revised Georgetown Agreement, which forms the constitutional basis of our unique identity, explicitly and ambitiously embedding the principles and objectives to give life to the unity and solidarity by which the ACP is known and must be known, both in theory and practice. Also for consideration are the regulations to govern staff relations. These are intended to enable the highest level of professionalism and offer competitive, reasonably attractive conditions of service that will make the ACP an employer of first choice by the brightest and most dedicated women and men across Africa, the Caribbean, and the Pacific. This gathering of the 109th session of the Council must truly mark the turning of a new page in the history of the A, the C, and the P, and set the trajectory for a higher level in how our decision-making is deliberate, informed, financially sound, adequately resourced, and resolved for the most efficient and effective implementation. Such a path is logically linked to the endorsement that is required by Council to set in motion the legal and administrative procedures for the next 5-year term of office of the Secretary General and senior management of the ACP group of states. While the Council only sets the spark to light the process and invites the comprehensive search for suitable candidates, it is left to the Secretariat and the Southern Africa region to enable a transparent, inclusive, open, and deep reflection for the new leadership as of 1st March 2020. This brings to my mind some thoughts on generations of leadership by C.L.R. James, the great Caribbean historian and philosopher. According to James, and I quote, "Each generation of leaders has the duty and responsibility to stand on the shoulders of the preceding generation and to see farther, be stronger, and carry the current generation to new vistas and even greater rendezvous of victory." End of quote. In considering the agenda that will serve our session with the European Union, adequate preparation on the encouraging progress in negotiations for a post-Cotonou agreement will be presented to Council by the ACP's Chief Negotiator and Chairman of the Ministerial Central Negotiating Group, Professor the Honorable Robert Duce, Minister of Foreign Affairs, African Integration, and Togolese Abroad. Tough issues on governance, migration, and civil society will prove demanding of shrewd negotiating skills underpinned by principle and core values for which the ACP will remain uncompromising. The form and cultural context in which they become constructs of social reality, whether on sex or gender equality, will no doubt be shaped by historical experiences in our societies and our culture patterns. The timetable of substantial progress warrants that the momentum of the negotiations be maintained and some strategic priorities accelerated. Here, I publicly advise the Council that commendable contributions have been provided to these negotiations by our staff with exceptional service, far beyond the call of duty. We have to be justly proud and let due praise be given to those so deserving. Despite substantial progress, realism forces us to recognize that by the terminal date of the Cotonou Agreement of 29 February 2020, a negotiated text will not be ready to be signed jointly by the 79 ACP member states and those of the European Union. This requires, in keeping with the Cotonou Partnership Agreement, the adoption of a decision on transitional measures until the new agreement enters into force. The content of the proposed decision will be the subject of deliberations by this session of our Council, and a similar decision in the ACP EU Council commencing on Thursday, 23rd May, 2 days away. With the agenda before us and work to be done, once again, may I say how pleased I am on behalf of our Secretariat to welcome you to Brussels, to your house and home. May our deliberations and debate collectively and individually rely on our steadfast determination to defend and deepen those values that we cherish and hold very dear: solidarity and unity in diversity. Mr. President, ministers, dear friends, the stage has been set for the current events by which to continue the journey towards the ACP we want and the much-needed transformation into an effective global player. I'm reminded of the words of our beloved Madiba Mandela, who once said that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. As we continue climbing to greater heights, I welcome you home. Thank you very much.
Nous remercions Son Excellence le Dr.
We're grateful to His Excellency Dr. Patrick Gomes, Secretary General of the ACP Group, for those welcome remarks. At this point, Honourable Ministers, I have the honour and privilege to invite His Excellency Mr. Chikere Otueya, Minister for Industrialization, Trade and Development and SMEs of the Republic of Namibia, President of the ACP Council of Ministers, to give his own opening remarks to open the 109th session of the ACP Council of Ministers. Your Excellency, Minister, you have the floor.
Honorable Ministers, dear colleagues, Your Excellency, the Secretary General, Dr. Gomes, Excellencies, Ambassadors, distinguished participants, media, ladies and gentlemen, I join the Secretary General in bidding you all welcome to the ACP House and to the 109th session of the ACP Council of Ministers. Very welcome. At the outset, I convey my gratitude for the honor and privilege that you have accorded me personally, to my country, Namibia, and the Southern Africa region in entrusting me to chair this session and the joint ACP-EU Council of Ministers that will take place on Thursday and Friday this week. Let me assure you of my commitment to deliver on the assignment as entrusted. I know that with your support and cooperation, we will have a fruitful as well as a memorable meeting. We meet here this afternoon as a decision-making body of our group to renew our commitment to the objectives and principles enshrined in the Georgetown Agreement. Our coming together is driven by our common identity of shared cultural values as well as historical, economic, and demographic characteristics. We take pride in the knowledge that our group is the largest official and structural organization of the world's developing countries spanning over 3 continents. In doing so, we reaffirm our vision to improve the living standards of our peoples through good governance, preservation of peace and security, as well as social justice. We recognize that entrepreneurship, building capacity in the private sector, promotion of trade, investment, and access to technology will go a long way in achieving sustained and sustainable development that will seek for our countries. At the same time, we reiterate our belief in South-South, North-South, as well as the triangular cooperation to move forward. The North-South cooperation of our long-standing partnership with the European Union has contributed immensely to the development of our different states. Indeed, we look forward to strengthening and deepening our partnership with Europe when we conclude the ongoing negotiations of the new partnership to replace the Cotonou Agreement. However, there is no doubt in my mind that we need to rely primarily on our own efforts and strengths if we are to achieve the desired level of social and economic development to meet with the expectations of our different populations. Closer cooperation among ourselves and with our partners is therefore vital for the full implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, to which we committed ourselves along with other members of the United Nations in September 2015. In this regard, I wish to underline the urgency of mobilizing adequate resources and financing to ensure the sustainable development to which all our people aspire. These are the urgency for mobilizing resources for human capital development and capacity building, particularly for the youth and the young people, as well as women. The urgency for prioritizing funds for the promotion of programs in support of youth entrepreneurship, together with vocational skills training, higher education, research, science and technology, and ICT or information communication technologies. The urgency for the transfer of environmentally sound technologies to our countries on favorable terms, including on concessional and preferential terms, and the urgency to deal with the adverse effects of climate change witnessed in most of our predominantly vulnerable regions through floods, drought, hurricanes, sea level rise, and coastal erosion. While a number of our countries are registering a slight improvement in economic growth And even as we witness concerted efforts to resolve political problems and conflicts throughout the world, the prevailing international socio-economic and political situation continues to pose numerous challenges to most countries in our group. The challenges are enormous, but we must rise to the occasion. The challenges are there for us to overcome. We must rise to the occasion to participate in the fourth industrial revolution, not as spectators, but as active participants to this fourth industrial revolution, the digitalization and the Internet of Things, of all of which have the potential to raise global income levels and improve the quality of life for populations around the world. We must rise to the occasion to fight the evil of corruption, which remains a scourge and serious threat to sustained economic growth, to our good governance, and the rule of law. Indeed, it is so serious that the African Union, though it thought it fit to declare last year, 2018, as the African Anti-Corruption Year. The summit theme was, and I quote, "Winning the fight against corruption, a sustainable path to Africa's transformation," end of the quotation. I therefore believe that we should all make concerted effort to eliminate corruption in all its forms in government and the society at large. And private sector think they are angels. So when I refer to all society, it includes the corruption in private sector as well. We must rise to the occasion to fight organized crime in all its forms. We must rise to the occasion to address unsustainable practices arising from inter alia, land-based and coastal activities, illegal, unregulated and unreported fishing that are threatening our marine ecosystems, the fish stocks, food security, and livelihoods. We must rise to the occasion to deal with the root cause of illegal migration, even as we recognize the nexus between migration and development, or rather, the lack of development. We must rise to the occasion to combat terrorism and violent extremists in the world in general and in the ACP member states in particular. We must rise to the occasion to combat xenophobia, racism, and hate speech. And I want to add here that the AU and Africa in general has finally ratified the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. It is now in force, which guarantees the free movement of people to share the knowledge on the continent, so that we can develop our continent, and within the group to share the skills within the group. And those that are doubting about the market, Africa alone has got 1.2 billion population. What market are we talking about if 1.2 billion is not a big market? What if you add the Caribbean, the Pacific? We do have the market. Let us rise to the occasion and start doing the right thing. In doing so, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we must think seriously how to reposition our group within the current multipolar world that is characterized by a shift in the balance of economic powers, in order to ensure that our group remain relevant and that it plays a more catalytic and influential role in global governance with a view to fulfilling the legitimate aspirations of our people. Let us resist the temptation to be told that the so-called social societies are above the laws of our countries. How can we still be undermined at this stage that way? The rule of law must be adhered to, no matter who you are. Our citizens are governed by the rule of law, but somebody wants to be above the rule of law of our countries. This is a serious undermining of our intelligence. Honorable ministers, ladies and gentlemen, as we embark on our agenda, let us recall that this is a crucial year as our group is in the process of negotiating a post-Cotonou agreement. Now, since the signing of the Cotonou Partnership Agreement in 2000, major changes have taken place. These changes include new geopolitical realities, globalization, and regionalization dynamics, with the maturation of our regional organizations and the AU becoming a more credible and legitimate Pan-African institution, and a changed European Union for that matter. Brexit looms in the horizon, and the European parliamentary elections are taking place in the next coming days. The post-Cotonou negotiations also coincide with the internal EU budgetary cycle and the revision of the EU's development cooperation financing instruments that would apply in a post-2020 setup. All these processes combined pose challenges, but also they represent a unique opportunity for the ACP. The road we are embarking on requires a new vision. It requires courage, and it requires political will. In this ever-changing world, we should sustain our faith in each other and maintain and consolidate our bonds of unity and solidarity. United we stand, divided we fall. Let us never forget that we are carrying a responsibility to those generations that have come before us, whose foundation we are now striving to consolidate, and those who will come after us. We owe it to them not only to maintain the momentum, but to take it to higher level. We are therefore optimistic that a new dawn is breaking. May we all be inspired to face the future with renewed vigor, loyalty, and dedication to our group. I would like to reiterate my confidence in our ability to work together. With your cooperation, we will proceed with our work most efficiently, and our discussions will take place in an atmosphere of mutual understanding. And for my part, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, I would like to reiterate my availability and that of my delegation, and assure you once again that we intend to continue serving you to the best of our ability. I wish you a fruitful deliberations over the next day or so, as well as with our partners on Friday and Thursday. I thank you for your attention.
Nous remercions Son Excellence.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, President of the Council of Ministers, for that opening statement as we open the 109th session, and for that message that was inspirational. Ministers, delegates, guests, the opening session of the 109th Council of Ministers has now concluded, and we're grateful for gracing us with your presence. I'd also wish to inform you that the plenary of the 109th session will commence in this same room at 3 p.m. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.